talk to animals. My name is Shannon. I am an animal intuitive and sensitive and Reiki master practitioner here at animallovelanguages.com. If you're listening to the podcast version and you just heard what sounded like a screech, you did. That's Pearl Cuts. He's my ever-present feathered sidekick. He's feeling kind of nesty this morning when we're recording. And so I'm going to let him nest in my lap for the rest of the episode and be super quiet, right? And we want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much. We are a young show. We are an excited show because we are all about demystifying, de-wooing, if you will, the wide and wonderful world of interspecies communication. What is it? How does it happen? Is it for real? Is it happening to you? How can you know? And how can you learn to do it? And because of this, I am privileged to welcome to the show every week a wonderful cast of talented intuitives, energy healers, holistic pet care practitioners, and real live animal communicators from all around the world. And I am especially delighted this morning to welcome Vincenzo Lauria. Vincenzo Lauria, and that's LAURIA.com. Vincenzo is VINCENZO, and I will put that in the show notes. Vincenzo and I were in my very first animal communication class together. So we had a podcast before the podcast. Just catching up and talking, and it's so good to see your face. It's so good to hear your voice. Oh,
it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Hi, Shannon. Hello, everyone.
Hi. So it's just such a blessing to, you know, we started this journey, right? And we were like, what's going on? You know, all of my synapses are firing up. All of my pathways are opening up. Stuff is happening. I don't know what's happening. Tell me what's happening. Now, here we are. And we both have websites, and we have businesses, and we have ideas.
Things are happening. Yes. All of the above. Check.
Yeah. So super exciting. And Vincenzo, because you have such a background already, and now I would say you just have a natural gift with people as well as animals, and that is like a huge missing link for a lot of people like me. I'm gonna out myself here. Like I was like, okay, I want to change species. I'm just gonna be an animal communicator. I will work with the animals because I like them better. And lo and behold, when our teacher first introduced tuning into the human, I almost quit. Oh my God, our classmate Will was my unlucky partner. And not only was he like highly averse to the chirping because it distracted him, but bless his sweetheart, he talked me into trying to tune into him. He had the hard job of convincing me it wasn't that bad. So just try it, Shannon.
I remember the day when we had to like learn how to tune into humans. We were like, oh crap, no, wait, no, why is this happening? I
trying to get away from them.
Yeah.
I just got into this word to get away from them. But you have a wonderful, robust background. You've worked as a sommelier, which automatically makes you my new best friend. You're a coach. You're a Reiki master. So you already have like the dual toolkit. So, you know, I always invite folks that come here to talk about their story to actually start at the beginning, you know, rewind us, take us back to the beginning and kind of share, like, how did you even know that animal communication was happening for you, and never, let alone take those next often scary steps to tiptoe out into kind of putting some structure around it.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I truly appreciate that. I feel very, very special right now. Yeah, as you mentioned, my background is now with animals, but mostly with people. I spent 30 years in the hospitality industry as a sommelier, as a restaurant person, as an instructor as well, teaching table service, hospitality, and that kind of stuff. So with that said, I feel like I have a pretty solid understanding about the human race. which basically meant to me that there was more need to discover the world of animals. And that's basically what sort of like led me through this work. You know, I grew up in a city. I grew up not on a farm, so the contact with nature for me was very, very, very minimum. It was not, you know, it was not huge for me out there. So discovering this other world, for me, it was just overwhelming. I remember when I was a kid, I went to the circus once and I went to the zoo once. And I remember crying. I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And I couldn't understand why, but I just felt this sadness from these animals. And I remember looking around and I remember just seeing all these kids that they were enamored by these animals, that they were able to do what the humans were telling them to do. I, on the other hand, was just completely hurt by it, and I couldn't really figure that out. Same thing when I went to a zoo and I saw these animals in cages. Yes, it may sound cliche for everybody who's listening to this, to this conversation, but this is how I felt. So yeah, it was a huge journey for me to basically, go from my field and my world into a completely different world. But I found so much peace and so much freedom when I started discovering that the language of animals is more powerful than the human language. And I got instantly enamored by it. I got instantly hooked. I wanted to know more right away. And I found the right network to basically develop all this. And I'm just simply blessed that I am at this point right now. So.
Well, it's really cool. And I love you. There's several points you bring up because, there's all kinds of reasons why we feel drawn to the things we feel drawn to. And if you're listening along or you're watching along and you're still with us and you haven't jumped over to get fit in 5 minutes or, how to work a 4-day week or whatever else, because there's so many things out there. It's like, we don't necessarily need to question. And I love your story. You're like, yeah, I want to go explore this other world. Like, that's why we're here. Right. And it's so easy to forget that, and it's so easy when we don't have these experiences mirrored back to us by those in our current circle or sphere of influence to discount or just actually forget about them.
Exactly.
And so, if you've wondered why you sometimes feel things or think things or have gut intuitive hunches that feel out of context with what's seems to be going on around you, if you have ever, gone into an animal-rich environment like a zoo or a circus or a traveling road show or an animal behavior training. I love that. Like, who's training who, right? Mm-hmm. And felt things or had a different experience than those around you and have felt, we otherize ourselves. We take ourselves out of the equation instead of saying, wait a minute, I need to deal myself in at a deeper level. Maybe there's a whole world of people out there. Like, I stopped wanting to change species when I started studying animal communication. I was like, wait a minute, I have people. I'm not as weird as I thought I was.
Oh,
no. Wait a minute, there's context around some of these, maybe you did. Maybe there are people, there are myths about animal communicators, that we all grew up on a farm, that we all had our first communication experience when we were 3, that we all spent our blissful summers laying in the field, chatting with the livestock. So many I'm 51 and a half, I think. I can remember my pets' ages, but I can't remember mine. I'm either 51 or 52. Yeah, right. I did not come to this work until very late in life. I had a good solid 5 decades under my belt before. And so it's, sometimes change for change's sake is the same thing as fun.
I agree with you 150%. And the beautiful thing about aging, it is the wisdom comes in. And it is such an amazing journey when you really realize the priority in your life and you don't look back and you start judging yourself, because at the beginning I was like, what the hell am I doing here, really, truly? And I'm going to just keep that for myself. I'm not going to say this to anybody, because nobody will understand this. But then I started realizing that, as we age, you just lose patience and you just basically stop judging yourself. So that was one of the most beautiful things to me about getting into the wisdom and really understanding what makes me happy. Like you mentioned, you're 51 and a half years. I spent 30 years of doing the same exact thing, putting my head down and then just simply do what society basically dictates me to do. But then I was at one point, I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm really done. And when the wisdom kicked in, I started, experiencing any other ways of not necessarily just to make money, but to really create that self-happiness while you make money, while you help people, while you connect with an animal, while you start dissecting a lesson for the human. So it all basically came at the right time. And I'm very grateful for that.
See, if you're listening to this, you're watching this, I want you to listen really closely. Go back, rewind that, and listen again, because imagine that you could do work that serves, that makes a difference, and make money and be happy. It's like, whoa, like, really? And many of us, including one of my business coaches, grew up in a world where that was not an option on the table. There was starve and be miserable in service to your art and your heart, the soft, sensitive side of you that just couldn't cut it in the real world, or B, go make lots of money and keep your head down. And then one day when you're, retired, like, okay, like that's, basically when you're starting your life, that's kind of the same. It sounds the same thing as being dead. So you're like, there's no dopamine snack. There's no reward. There's nothing close by that's like, yeah, I really want to like bust my ass for 40 years and then I can have fun. It's like, no, we can have fun now. We can, this whole pandemic that's put us like smack dab face to face, many of us just with ourselves for so many moons now, has really brought home the fact, like, how brave are you? How brave are we? And for those of you who are listening, who are coming out of that mentality, and I was there too, I worked those corporate jobs, and think about what life would be like if you woke up this morning and said, what am I going to really regret not experiencing when I do this to myself all the time. Maybe it's scary, but it produces instant motivation and brave. Like, what am I going to be laying on my deathbed going, dang, it's too late to do that. I really wanted to try that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
go
it's
watch the movie.
It's self-coaching,
which, and the thing is like, we also need community. We need one another and that's the other thing I wanted to say, because when I was young, one of my family's favorite movies was the movie Meatballs with Bill Murray. And it's this beautiful story of a kid that goes to summer camp who literally could have been me, because he was like so out of place there, like couldn't do sports, like didn't know it's socially awkward, like just, and lonely, like homesick. And it's like, why am I here? And Bill Murray's the head counselor and he befriends him. And at one point, they're having a conversation and he says, if you make one good friend a summer, you're doing something right. And my father, who passed last year, often reminded us, he said, if you make a couple of good friends in a lifetime, that's a good life. And so you're not going to have that buy-in, like you talked about, Vincenzo, from everyone in your circle. Chances are you will have people looking at you going, whoa, what happened to him? But you will have somebody, one person who is in your corner. I truly have always believed we always have at least one person. We're not entitled to millions. Nothing in our evolution primed us for having 5,000 Facebook friends. That's not how we operate. But Vincenzo, you found your way. You found you're brave. And you know, because there are so many people listening to this show that have different reasons, you know, you and I both decided to essentially hang out a shingle and do the thing, right? And go public. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about like where, like how you intuitively worked your way into that, because, you know, that's one of many options. And there are a lot of people that listen that I feel like I get feedback that people are like, I don't know, like, I don't know why I want to do this. I mean, did you find that that was important when you were starting, or?
Well, no, that's a very good question, Shannon. To me, what was happening, my lifestyle, my previous job, and my previous commitment, it was taking a toll on me physically. And I would come home from work and my husband would say, hey, how was your day? My husband is a naturopathic doctor. He loves his job, you know, the whole thing.
Wow.
And when he would ask me that question, I would just simply say, over. My day is over. It's over. Let's just let's just make dinner and then let's forget about it. But then I started realizing that I was into this rut, into this cycle. And I despite of the fact that I had the perfect job and the benefits, you know, and all that,
Yes.
you know, I was a teacher in a community, you know, at a culinary college. But then I really started feeling ill. I remember waking up on my first day from a break, from a summer break. So, you know, you wake up, it's your first day from like, you know, month of vacation that you're supposed to have. And I remember waking up and I had this really heaviness in my chest and I couldn't shake that off. I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm supposed to be actually happy that I'm on vacation, but I was already thinking that I had to go back to work in a month. And a month was not enough for me to reset, right? To recharge. So to me, that was a huge wake-up call. However, since we're talking about intuition, my intuition was telling me, leave your job, follow your dream, do what you're supposed to do. But I was judging myself. I was like, no, this is just like, you know, this is so cliche. I'm going through like a midlife crisis, perhaps, you know, you cannot give up this job and so on. And then, frankly, I just reached to a point that I couldn't do it. I was sitting in a parking lot of my, you know, my workplace, and I could not even get out of my car because I was getting so anxious. And I could do that job in my sleep, but believe me, but there was nothing that brought me pleasure. So then the pandemic hit, then COVID happened. And, you know, you find yourself locked into basically either your house or your office, wearing a mask, you know, the social distance and all that stuff. And I was like, all right, what's my lesson here? What is my lesson? And my lesson was live by the day. Don't make any plans. What's important for you today? And what was important for me on a daily basis is to be happy. So I quit, I resigned from my job, and I started diving into what I always wanted to do. Yes, I am a life coach. Yes, like you, I am a Reiki master and I practice Reiki and all kinds of other, you know, healing techniques. However, I had it with the human race. I was like, you know what? I really wanted to do something that it has nothing to do with humans. And it sounds cliche because I'm sure a lot of people are watching and confirming what I'm saying. But I've always felt this deeper connection with animals, and I wanted to know more about it. Yes, if you have an animal, you're already talking to them. Hello, you know, it's not a big deal here, but is it talking or is it communicating? So, you know, yes, I have a dog, right? So there are two different things here. Yes, okay, so you're talking to your dog with the human language. Sit, come, stay, you know, roll, you know, all kinds of stuff. But that is basically talking with conditions instead of communicating into an unconditional way, kind of like animals, you know, love us. And basically, I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to experience more about it. I am 54 almost. I'm going to be 54 in July. So I felt that I had the wisdom to kind of like really take it to the next level. And I found the right community. And, you know, the rest basically is history, you know. Now I'm here talking to you about this stuff. And
Well,
I am comfortable talking about it.
That's the key.
Yes, animal communication exists. Yes, animal communication exists because it comes from a source of unconditional love. Animals, no matter what, they're always happy to see you. They don't lie to you. This is what not humans do. So just understanding that philosophy and that thinking, it really drew me even more to sort of like discover this beautiful world. That doesn't mean that I talk to every single animal that I find on the road, or it doesn't mean that right now I'm talking to your bird right there, because of course you got to establish some boundaries. Otherwise you just, otherwise it becomes more of a stress, than anything. But I've learned so much. I've learned so much about the lessons that my animal is teaching me. I learned so much about myself. And, I was in therapy and I had a life coach as well, and all that beautiful things and all that spiritual development that we're all supposed to do. However, since I started this journey, I have healed a lot of parts of myself that I thought I healed them through other, ways and so on. So,
there's so much there, including the reconnection that you share about experiencing this reconnection in a place of profound respect of equality between yourself and your dog, or my bird, or the squirrel outside. Or we're not an invasive species. Homo sapiens behave like invasive species. Some of us, a lot of us. But we've set up some unsustainable structures that we have to work on, but we do belong here. We are a part of, and it's this that has really transformed the path for me into animal communication. Because we're taught, especially those of us who have a corporate background, we have high level training and education, and we come from that kind of the culture where you set a goal. And I decided when I recovered from 20 years with an eating disorder that I was not going to set year-long or 5-year or 10-year plans. I was like, I'm going to try to plan today, and I'm trying to do my best job at that. But that's about as far ahead as I can think, because I shouldn't even be here. I don't even know how I survived that, but somehow I did. And so life is about today now. And so it's really been, of course, we set a goal. You want to set a goal when you start learning something. Where's this going? What's the payoff? Why am I investing my time, my energy, my money, my attention away from everything that's already going on in my life to pursue this new path? And the answer is, because it feels right, and because nothing that anyone else says, nothing else that my mind throws at me can talk me out of it. And that's how there's something deeper there. And I say this on every episode these days, I love the idea of visiting Mars because it's creative and new, but I don't want to live there. I like it here. And I really think we can do something. We can do something with this planet. And so it doesn't have to be this, mad, passionate, abiding love for all species. That's another myth about animal communicators, that we're so besotted with every animal we see that we can't help it. It's like, no, we're animals, and we've forgotten this. We've forgotten all these other pathways. And I love what you say about the difference between talking or training and commanding and being in charge and communicating, having a conversation, which involves beginner's mind and not knowing the answers and having to open in different parts of ourselves to receive information. And we can give ourselves permission to turn off the answer fountain, to not know.
Exactly.
And so I'd love it if you, I know we're coming up on time, but if you'd share just a couple of tidbits. One is kind
Sure.
of like a few little hints or insights for people that are just, maybe they're listening and they're thinking, oh gosh, I think this might be happening for me as well. I think my animal might be talking to me, or the wild animals outside might be talking to me, or somebody's trying to talk to me. I'm feeling things, I'm sensing things, but I don't know, they're not normal. I can't put my finger on where they are on my body or where they're coming in. Is it my mind? Is it my gut? So how did, like, your first experiences, like, how did you know? Like, ooh, I think, I'm having a communication.
So basically, to me, it was all about discovering the power of intuition and discovering that sense that we have, which is the most powerful sense that we have, but it's the least used one. As we talked before, I was a sommelier. I am a sommelier. So basically I used my olfactory, right, to identify a wine in a blind tasting. I can tell you the grape, the vintage, the country, and all that stuff. So to me, it was about rediscovering another sense that I possess, right? And start changing my language. I feel instead of I think. So to me, it was all about, why do I feel sad when I see my friend's dog? Why do I feel happy, on the other hand, when I see my friend's cat? Or what is this feeling that I'm experiencing whenever, again, I see a circus, or I see a zoo, or I see the sea world and all that. So to me, it was about diving deeper and I'm really understanding, why is this intuition? Why is this sense speaking to me? What does that mean? And then when I realized that intuition is the tool that you need to connect with animals, then I started training on that. And I started basically understanding the procedure, the progression on how animal communication basically starts. Yes, I had many experiences, with animals, even with my own animals. I remember when I when I had to euthanize my first dog, I developed Bell's palsy, which was a face paralysis, because my immune system completely shut down because I was so, hurt by it. Yeah. And why did that happen? What's the lesson there for me? Yeah. So it was all about understanding what I was experiencing, right? And now shining the light on it and truly, confirm the fact I've been communicating with animals. I've been feeling what they're feeling. So brave enough, I was wise enough to find the right community and starting this program. And during the pandemic, it was the best thing that I've ever done. To me, this animal communication also taught me about the principle of mindfulness, staying in the moment. Yes, we have intentions. We got to set up goals, like you said. So we got to make plans. But in order for us to make plans, we have to basically savor this particular moment so we can move forward. And then when I started this training, when I started, this whole protocol, it was just amazing about, okay, yes, animals are speaking to me, animals are communicating with me, and they are understanding what I'm saying. So
absolutely.
Yes.
So that's a key. That's a key, is to start changing how you interact with your own internal communication system. Exactly. I love you. So simple and so to the point. Like, if you're listening or you're watching and you're thinking, how can I parse apart what's happening to me, or how can I even tell if it is maybe happening? Start changing your language. Just ask yourself, instead of saying, well, I think this, ask yourself, I feel. Or where do I feel it? You said we usually all have one intuitive pathway or sense that's a little more open than the others. And so maybe for you it was your olfactory. For me, my gut, like I've always had a lot of gut stuff going on. And so it's like, if there's something going on that's out of context, it's going to head right straight for my gut. So also start thinking about, which pathway of mine may be, already, wide screaming open and is receiving data or information on so many levels. because this is a huge topic, I do want to mention that if you go to animallovelanguages.com and you click on free tools under Learn with Me, you'll find a free 5-day animal communication camp, and you can learn 5, actually 6, because of course I had to include a bonus. There's the major intuitive pathways, and it's just a little 5-minute day thing that's really fun. There's also a free intuitive pet parent workshop, and yes, this parrot right here participates. He sure does, but not loudly and not do the whole thing, I promise. So before we close today, Vincenzo, so you have a lot of different ways that you work with people, and that you work with people and their animals, and that you work with animals. So your website, vincenzolauria.com, and I'll put that in the show notes in case you're driving or walking or jogging while you're listening to this. But tell us a little bit about what you'd recommend for somebody who maybe wants to work with you and has never done this before. It's like, what do I do? Where should I start?
Trust your intuition. Basically, the best advice that I can give you is to trust intuition and choose the right people to share. Because as humans, we get influenced by others. For example, what I can tell you is that when I started discovering this beautiful world about animal communication, I never spoke about that with my family because I knew what they were going to tell me. I knew what they were not obviously going to not necessarily agree, but truly understand. I had one very short communication with my brother, for example, about animal communication. The first thing that he says, well, how much money are you going to make? And I'm like, well, this is not about the money. This is about me. So basically, the best advice that I can give anyone is that we are taught to train animals, right? But my philosophy is to train humans to tune into animals. So let's start flipping the things a bit, right?
Let's just flip it a lot.
Let's just flip it just by flipping that and changing that belief system that we are not in charge of our animals. So who are we to train an animal? However, what if I train myself, right, to tune into the animals and see what happens? So trust your intuition, choose the right network to share and to learn. A lot I kept it for myself until I find, somebody like you or the network that I am currently in right now. And then just simply let go of any thoughts that may be negative in that regard. If you truly feel that your animal is your best friend, we're taught, oh, my dog is the best friend. Really? Why is your dog your best friend? Where does all that beautiful love coming from? Let's dissect that. So again, trust your intuition, find the right network, understand that animal communication exists. And as we said, let's flip. Instead of training animals, let's train humans to sort of like tune into them.
I love it. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, my cat or my dog or my bird has me very well trained, well, you know what? Why not jump on board?
Exactly.
Get more training.
There you go. Exactly.
Go enroll yourself in some more training, because sometimes it's not how well we train our animal that creates interspecies family harmony. It's the elephant in the room that needs the most training.
Yeah,
is the one with the largest prefrontal cortex, right? So if you're the one in your family with the largest prefrontal cortex, go get yourself some training. So that's beautiful. And you guys are meeting so many wonderful animal intuitives and energy light workers and healers and practitioners through this show. And you can head over to animallovelanguages.com podcast to re-listen to all of the episodes. If you're looking for somebody who's a coach or mentor, you can guide you. I've interviewed many coaches. I teach and mentor and coach. Vincenzo, you have a long and wonderful background as a teacher and a coach, and we also offer private sessions. And sometimes that's the best way, is to just start with take a half an hour, check an item off your bucket list, add it and check it off if you need to, And then, just see what there is to be seen and ask yourself, does this intrigue me? Do I want to experience, not learn, not know, not memorize more, but do I want to experience more? Because there's a lot more to be experienced. And I often share that one of the most prominent memories I have from my very first days as, working and learning and experiencing animal communication, which wasn't that long ago, was, oh my gosh, I've never felt so alive. I felt like there was little bells and whistles inside of me turning on that I didn't know were there. And if that sounds cool to you, then this path might just have something for you. So I want to thank you, Vincenzo, for donating your time to be here this day. I say this morning because this is when we're recording. You may be listening at any time of day or night, but it's always, when we do what we love, we can even make a lot of money. We can be ecstatically happy, but we are grounded in service of wanting to feel a part of, to feel the little ripple effect that comes back to us from what we put out there, to feel our own value and to become anchored in that, to believe in that, because where there's a little bit of impact, there can be a lot more. And so whether you want to work at a charity, you want to volunteer at a shelter, you want to have a more harmonious interspecies relationships in your own family, you want to intake foster animals and provide them with the love and comfort and the being seen that they've never had. There's all kinds of reasons, and you don't really need a reason. But thank you for joining us today. You are our reason. You are our reason for being here. You are the animals asked me to do this because this is something that I know how to do and I can do and I like doing. And so we all have a way to serve, and maybe there's something lurking in your background that you're like, that just didn't make sense, but maybe it will make sense. And so I just want to give you, those of you who are listening or watching, all of our encouragement and our support. Please, if you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a friend who loves animals. Share it with your one person, the person that you know will support you, or that you suspect, that you intuit will support you. Give us a like, give us 5 stars, give us 50 stars if that's available in your area, or 5 feathers, as Pearl likes to say. And we look forward to welcoming you back next week for another fresh new episode of Let's Talk to Animals. Okay, have a beautiful day, and we will see you soon.
Thanks,
Bye
Shannon.
for now.
Thank you.